Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Scradvanced. Here's the time to get straight into the tutorial. But you might have noticed that I haven't actually uploaded in a while, and that's because I made the videos on my school laptop, but now that school's over for 8 weeks, I didn't have a laptop, but my dad gave me a old laptop that I can use to make things. It's a bit slow, but I should be able to continue making these videos now. So, this video, I was thinking about the game, and I realized that it doesn't really feel like the player is in control. You have to constantly dodge these enemies, and they get more and more, and eventually it just becomes too overwhelming, and you just lose. So, I was thinking, what if we give the player a sword, and then we use the sword to attack the enemies. This would take a bit of coding, but I will show you the simple way to do it, and it should make the game a lot more satisfying. So let's get started. You're going to want to start by making a new sprite for a sword. So make a new sprite, call it sword, and now if you go into here, there isn't actually a sword costume that you can just take from the Scratch library. So we're gonna have to make our own. Make sure the sprite is shown, and we'll start. I'll just make some art. You can draw whatever you want, but make sure that the sword is pointing in this direction. So the sword should be pointing in that direction, because that's direction 90 here, which is the direction the sword should point in. Editing here, I just wanted to quickly say, since this laptop is like really old, it tends to lag a lot, which means these videos will be harder to make and will probably be a bit lower quality. Okay, I think this sword looks good enough. Now that we have our sword, what you want to do is select it and then make sure, look, you can see the middle right here. That's where the middle of it is. If you put it in the middle and then hold and shift, you can move it to the right so that it stays in center, and make it so the handle is in the center, which means when it swings, it will spin around the handle. Now let's just give that a test with the rotate block. If we swing it, you'll see that it swings around the handle like that. Okay, now to get to the coding part. What we're gonna do is get a flag clicked, and what we're gonna do is tell the sword to hide, because we only want the sword to swing when we're actually swinging it. So what we're gonna do is we're going to forever go to the cat, and we'll just test that quickly. As you can see, the sword now stays with the cat. Okay, now what we need to do is we're gonna make another script. So another flag clicked, and we're gonna do forever. Now what we're gonna do is wait until space is pressed. So what that does is it waits until that is pressed. Pretty easy to understand. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna show up, and we want it to swing. So to make it swing, we'll just make it rotate multiple times and then hide again. So this is a swing. And I'm gonna make it 9 and rotating, and you'll see why soon. So that will turn exactly 90 degrees. And now, when it starts, it turns 45 degrees, it will swing in the front like that. And then we'll have it hide again. But if you test that, we're not done. As you can see, the sword acts weirdly. So what we need to do is actually tell it, both swings, to point in the direction that the cat is facing. So grab the backdrop of stage block, do cat, and then direction, and that'll show which direction the cat is pointing. And then I will do the swing. So if we test that, however, it still does that, because the cat isn't actually changing direction. So we need to make the cat change direction. So when it goes up, we want it to point up. When it goes down, we want it to point down. When it points left, we want it to point left. And when it goes right, we want it to point right, which is what it's already at. And now if we go up, but hang on, now the cat's doing this weird thing. And getting stuck in walls too. Okay, so what we need to do is go to set rotation style, set it to don't rotate, and now we can swing this sword around in different directions. And let's go on full screen for this. Hang on, because the laptop's old, it seems the controls are a bit buggy. But however, you might notice that our sword doesn't actually do anything. So we need to change that. I'm gonna make it so the sword instantly gets rid of mice, but it takes 3 hits to get rid of a ghost. So here we have the code for the mouse. We'll start another clone script and say forever if it's touching the sword. So if the sword swings at it and it touches it, then we want to delete the clone. Now this won't work for the ghosts yet, but now you should be able to get the mice. And boom. You can now take out the mice. But the ghosts still can't be taken out. However, I feel like if we're going to be fighting, then all these walls will... So I'm going to remove some of the walls, just to give you more space to swing around at them. So now it's less of a maze and more of an arena. Okay, now let's make it so it takes 3 hits to get the ghost. Okay, now you can actually use a trick in Scratch. If you grab a script, you can actually move it to another sprite by hovering over it. And we now have the same thing here. But we don't want the ghost to just be taken out instantly. So let's say if it's touching the sword, we'll use health. So make a new variable called ghost health, and make sure it's for this sprite only. This means I'll do it individually for every clone, because we don't want every ghost to have the same amount of health. Now, when the clone starts, the ghost should have 3 health. And then, if it touches the sword, it should change the health by -1, because it's been hit. So now it will have 2 health. But it should only delete the clone if the health is less than 1. Because if the health is less than 1, then it would be dead. But if you test that, it won't work properly. Because you'll notice it died in one swing. This is because the sword takes 9 frames it's supposed to swing, which means that for 9 frames this script can run, so the ghost can be hit 9 times from one string for a string. So what we're gonna do is say that what we're gonna do is when it's hit, it's gonna move away so that you can't hit it in the same swing. So what we're gonna do is have it point towards the cat and then move backwards. This will probably be too fast, but we'll test. So now if we hit it, except I did it wrong. Yep, so now if you hit it, it takes 3 hits. However, I feel like the sword is a bit too close to the cat when you swing it. As you can see, it's as if it's coming out of its mouth. So what we're gonna do is actually change this, and we're gonna tell it to move 10 steps. So it'll go to the cat and then move 10 steps forward. Now I don't actually know if this will work, but it looks like it's working. And you can change the number from 10 to something else if you want. Now we should probably get a sound effect for the sword. So what we're going to do is go to effects. And you can find the whoosh effect. You can choose either. I'm going to go for the low whoosh. And what we're going to do is, when it's swung, it'll play that sound effect. There. Now, one thing about the ghosts is it's hard to tell how much health they have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change something from before. So this is setting the ghost effect to 50. But instead, let's set the ghost effect based on how much health it has. So let's say the ghost has 3 health. So that's how much it does. What we're going to do is times it by 30. No, that's not right. Actually, yes, we will times it by 30. And then what we're going to do is get 100 minus that. So if the ghost's health is full, then you can pretty much see it. But if it had 2 health, it would be kind of hard to see. And 1 health, it's like really hard to see. And now if we test that, you can see when you hit the ghost, it gets more and more transparent. So you now have a way of self-defending against the animals and the ghost. That would probably be it for this tutorial. There's a lot of polish and stuff you could do, but I might do in the next episode.